Hi people, it's me, Anja. My pronouns are she and her, and welcome back to my channel for part 24 of my favorite Sapphic book recommendations with Sapphic main characters. Some of these are written by queer authors as well, but some of them aren't. I don't necessarily check the identity of an author before I pick up a book that's queer, just because I know that some authors obviously don't want to out themselves for their jobs, and it's illegal, I think in the United States at least, to assume that somebody is queer before, like, writing a story with queer characters, because it has nothing to do with the caliber of their work. You know what I mean? Like, the same way that you can't ask someone if they're pregnant in a job interview, at least, again, in America. But anyway, if you don't want to ask AI for book recommendations, I'm here instead. And I don't think you should be asking AI for book recommendations anyway, because I'm extremely anti-AI. But anyway, all that to say, the first book on this list is called Letterboxd. This story is a YA contemporary marketed for fans of like Heartstopper and Daily Girls, because I believe it's set in the UK, and it follows a young Sapphic main character with ADHD who is navigating a new romance, her new diagnosis, as well as friendship drama. I think this story is so excellent, and it was so well done, and it was so digestible. It was very, very easy to read, which I know may not say much about me since I read very quickly all the time, but I really enjoyed this book. The romance was so cute, and it was so well done. I typically don't really enjoy like enemies to lovers in contemporary settings, but this one was well done because it had the route of like discovering your sexuality. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think the main character was aware that she was queer prior to the beginning of the book. But anyway, the romance was excellent, the friendships were awesome, the characters were well developed and distinct, the plot was so intriguing and so awesome. Like, this book was really, really good. So anyway, with that said, I would definitely highly, highly recommend it. The next book on this list is called It's All or Nothing Vale. I think that's how you pronounce it, but I'm not completely sure. I always get thrown off by Hispanic sounding like names and Spanish sounding names just because I have a speech impediment surrounding the letter R, so I always have trouble with that letter specifically, and I can't roll my R's like other people. But anyway, her name doesn't have an O in it, so I don't know why I brought that up. Anyway, this story, if you didn't know, is a middle-grade contemporary following a Puerto Rican Sapphic main character who's trying to find her passion to life back again because she's recently injured, and that means that she can no longer be at the same caliber with fencing as she used to be. Does that make any sense? Anyway, this book was so good, and it was so awesome, and it's written in verse, and I just really, really enjoyed it. I had really low expectations, as mentioned previously in the recent reads video that I talked about this book in like a few weeks ago or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, I loved this book. I thought it was so well done. The writing was so lyrical. The plot is so engaging. I loved the queer representation. I loved her family dynamics. I loved the conversation surrounding like disability and being injured and fencing and everything. This book was so good. The characters felt like real people. So anyway, with that said, I would definitely highly, highly recommend it. The next book on this list is called A Good Kind of Trouble. This story is a YA contemporary following a young bisexual Indigenous main character who is challenging racism within an Australian high school. I really enjoy this book. I don't remember the last time, honestly, that I've read a book set in Australia or New Zealand. I feel like it's been more than a year since the majority of the books that I read are set in America. But anyway, this book was so good and it was so excellent. I don't really know a lot about the Australian schooling system. I think it's more like the British schooling system than the American schooling system, I'm assuming. But like, this book was so good. I loved the culture, I loved the characters. Like, my only like reference of Australian schooling systems is Heartbreak High. You know what I mean? Other than that, I don't really know a lot about Australian culture or anything like that. I've been there before as a tourist, so I've gotten a bit of a biased perspective. Anyway, I digress. Basically, I loved the setting, I loved the characters, I loved the friendship and the romance and the queer representation and everything. This book was so good. I just really enjoyed it. Again, it was very easy to read. I believe it's also quite short. I think it's less than 300 pages. But anyway, overall, this book was so good and so easy to read. So with that said, I would definitely highly recommend it. The next book on this list is called Kirby's Lessons for Falling in Love. This story is a YA contemporary graphic novel that follows a young Asian queer main character who is navigating her identity as well as her obligations to her community and her family. This story is absolutely so excellent and it's so well done, which I feel like I say about every book all the time, but basically this book was so excellent and I loved the illustrations like so much. I need to do an updated Sapphic graphic novel book recommendation video. I think that might be my next video that I have planned. I'm not quite sure. I'm also going to start doing a reading vlog because I'm going to start the Royal Cat series for the first time as an adult. But anyway, I digress. This book was so good. The story was excellent and it was so emotional. I loved the characters, I loved the romance, I loved the family dynamics. The plot is excellent and so engaging. Like, this book is absolutely so riveting from the beginning to the end. Everything about it was so good and so awesome. So anyway, with that said, I would definitely highly recommend it. The next book on this list is called Love Points to You. This story is a YA contemporary following an Asian main character who is pursuing her art dreams while also navigating a new love in someone else. Does that make any sense? Anyway, this book was so good. I know the cover has both of them on it, and I just wanted to say that this book is not exactly romance-driven. It's more like career-driven, if that makes any sense, by her art dreams in high school, and her illustrations are so good. I'm assuming if I saw them in person. But anyway, the characters are so well developed and so distinct. The romance is so cute. I loved the ace representation as well as the bi representation. Like, the romance has such good chemistry and connection between the two of them, and it made so much sense. And her career and her dreams and her ambition and her personality also made so much sense. I feel like this review was so redundant since I read this book so recently. But anyway, I really enjoyed it because, again, it was super easy to read and it was super digestible. So anyway, with that said, I would definitely highly recommend it. The next book on this list is called 13 Ways to Say Goodbye. This story is a middle-aged contemporary following a young queer main character who is navigating grief and new love. This story is absolutely so excellent and it's so well done. I know I've been saying lately that every single book on this list is digestible, which literally means that it's more lighthearted, which makes it easier to read. But I would definitely say that this book is a little bit more heavy, which I absolutely love too. But again, I just talked about this book in my last video. So anyway, this book was so good and it was so emotional, and I loved the three-verse format, the Pérez setting, like the characters, the romance, everything. This book is so good and it's so emotional, and I was so emotionally invested from the beginning to the end. Everything about this book is so excellent. I love the writing and the plot and the pacing and the characters and the romance and everything. Like, this book is so good. I just really enjoyed it, and I think it's so underrated. So anyway, with that said, I would definitely highly recommend it. The next book on this list is called How to Survive a Slasher. This story is a YA contemporary horror following a bisexual genderqueer main character who's a survivor of a serial killer, and that story of the serial killer has been fictionalized into books, and she feels as if, like, that author has, like, profited off of her trauma, understandably, but lately she's received what seems like a new draft of a new book from that author, if that makes any sense, that seems to predict the future of a new recent serial killer. So basically, history has been repeating itself. Does that make any sense? I don't know if it does, but basically this book was so good. It was so excellent and so well done. I just really enjoyed it from the beginning to the end. I loved the queer representation so much. The family dynamics, the characters, the friendships, the plot. Nothing about it felt too on the nose or anything like that. I love the characters because they feel like real people and real teenagers. and everything. I loved the queer representation because, again, it felt so authentic. This also has always done a good job crafting such good transgender representation and queer Sapphic representation. So anyway, overall, this book was absolutely so excellent and so intriguing. So with that said, I would definitely highly, highly recommend it. The last book on this list, and definitely not the least, is called Camila Nùñez's Year of Disasters. This story is a YA contemporary following a Cuban queer main character who is forced to confront her fears about the future. This story is absolutely so excellent and it's so well done. I just really, really enjoyed it from the beginning to the end. I loved the characters. I love the queer representation. I love the romance. I love her friendship. Like, this book was so good and it's so underrated, which I know I say all the time, but I think this book deserves so much more hype because it's absolutely so excellent. The characters feel like real people, like real teenagers. I love the communication. I love the friendship between her main character and her best friend. Like, this book is excellent. The writing is so good. I love the pacing. I love the plot. I will genuinely in the future read more by this author if they continue to write more books. Hopefully. This book was so good and I just really, really enjoyed it, and I knew that I would rate it high from the very, very beginning because I was hooked. So anyway, with that said, I would definitely highly, highly recommend it. So in conclusion, I hope that was better than AI giving you book recommendations because I'm an actual person. Anyway, if you don't know what I'm referencing, there was a person on book Twitter a few days ago who revealed that they asked ChatGPT for book recommendations, which I think is truly ridiculous because if you're on book Twitter, that means that you're surrounded by actual people who will gladly give you book recommendations if you ask. You know what I mean? I know sometimes they might not answer within a timely manner just because of time zones and whatnot, but you will receive, in my opinion, better book recommendations from actual people than from an AI bot. You know what I mean? Anyway, in conclusion, I hope that you genuinely enjoyed this video, and please don't hesitate to give it a thumbs up, and also comment down below the frog emoji if you made it all the way to the end of the video. Thanks for watching, subscribe to my channel if you're new, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!